Everybody says learn to code, but nobody tells you what happens after. You finish tutorials, you build small things, and then you ask yourself, so how do I actually get a job? In this episode, I'll break down the real roadmap from zero to your first developer role. I'm your host, Oluwole, and welcome to Inside the Stack. There's a lie most beginners believe, and it sounds very, very innocent. If I just finish enough tutorials, I'll be ready for a job. But that's not how this works. Learning does not equal job readiness. Let me say that again. Learning does not equal job readiness. Tutorials are great. They give you exposure. They introduce you to tools. They introduce you to concepts. They introduce you to patterns. They show you what's possible, but they are guided experiences. They are not mastery. Someone else is thinking for you. Someone else already solved the problem. What you're just doing is you're just following along. And that's where most people get stuck. They confuse watching with building. You watch someone write code, you understand it, you even nod along like, yes, what this person is saying here, it makes sense. But when it's time to actually build something on your own, everything suddenly feels different. What's happening now? You have to think by yourself. You have to decide, where do I start? What structure makes sense? Why is this breaking? How do I fix it? Tutorials don't train you for that part. And that's what companies are looking for. You don't get hired because you finished a course. Nobody would pay you or give you a job just because you completed React for beginners or because you completed Django Masterclass. No, that's not what companies care about. Companies don't hire people who watched how to code. They hire people who can actually solve real problems with code. Ask yourself, can I take a messy problem? Can I break it down? Can I make decisions? Can I handle any edge cases that occur and still ship something that works? Because at the end of the day, that's what really matters. So if you've been stuck in tutorial after tutorial, feeling like you are learning, but you're not getting closer to a job, you are not the problem. You've just been training the wrong skill. So if tutorials aren't enough, what actually works? What actually works? What's the real path from zero to getting hired? Well, the truth is it's simpler than people make it, but it's also more intentional. So now, here's the framework I would recommend because it's a part I've also taken. And if you remember nothing else from this episode, you need to remember this particular framework. Learn, build, share, and apply. I repeat, learn, build, share, and apply. Learn. Learn is the foundational phase. It is the phase where you build up your knowledge with tutorials, where you build up your knowledge with courses. Yes, you still need tutorials. Yes, you still need to do all these courses. You still need documentation. Why? Because this is where you get the fundamentals. This is where you understand how things work. But now this is the significant difference. You shouldn't stay here too long. But this is the phase where most people spend all their time. But this is the goal of this phase. The goal of this phase is not perfection. It is just to understand the basics, just enough to start building on your own. It's just the starting point, not the destination. The first mistake most beginners make at this stage is they try to learn everything, front end, back end, mobile, DevOps, AI, all at the same time. And that's a very, very fast way for you to get overwhelmed. So instead, I would recommend just pick one part, just one. Whether it's front end, whether it's back end, whichever direction that interests you, and you know what, commit to it. Now, within that part, focus on the core concepts. Don't focus on the tools. Don't focus on the hype. Focus on just the pure concept. Pure concepts like variables, which is how you store your data in the programming language, functions, how you organize the logic, the APIs, how the systems communicate, and or database, at least at the basic level, if you are going the backend route. Why? Because once you understand these things, You can adapt to any framework, you can adapt to any language, and you can adapt to any stack. Now, here's the key mindset shift. You are not trying to master everything here. You are trying to get just enough understanding to build something on your own. So that means you don't need to finish 10 courses. You don't need to know every edge cases. You don't need to memorize everything. You just need to reach a point where you can say, I understand this enough to try to build something on my own. Yes, you just need to learn just enough and then move. Because the next phase is where things start to click. Now, the phase two, build. Build is the most important phase in this whole entire journey. We've talked about learn. The next phase is build. People tend not to stay here too long or not to stay here long enough because it feels so uncomfortable. You see, learning feels safe, but you see, building, it feels uncomfortable. Because now there is no guide, there is no tutorial, there is no step by step, nothing like just follow what I'm doing. It's just you and the problem. And this is exactly why this phase matters the most. Because this phase is where skill is actually developed. Now, let me be clear. When I say build, I don't mean build tutorial clones. I don't mean copying a YouTube project line by line. That is still part of learning. What I'm talking about is building something on your own. Now, if it's even something that is inspired by a tutorial, you must think through it by yourself. So you start small, very, very small. A simple to-do app, a basic blog API, a small dashboard, something small, nothing fancy. The goal at this stage is not to impress anyone. The goal is to struggle. The goal is to think. The goal is to get stuck and figure things out. You see that point when something breaks and you have to debug it, when something doesn't make sense and you have to research it, when your first approach fails and you have to try again. That's growth. That's you taking off the training wheel and riding it out on your own. Then as you get more comfortable, you can increase the complexity. You started with simple, you go to complex, or you go to hard, then complex. You add authentication, you can introduce a database, you can connect to an external API, you can handle edge cases. And now here's the line that I want you to remember. Your skill is not measured by what you know, but by what you can build without help. Can you take an idea and turn it into something real? Can you go from this would be cool to hey, this actually works? Because that's actually what separates beginners from people who actually get hired. So don't rush this phase. Don't skip it. Don't outsource your thinking to tutorials. And please, don't outsource this phase to AI tools. I repeat, don't outsource this phase to AI tools. It will not help you. And when you rely too much on AI tools, it can turn you into a fraud later on down the line. Because if you can build, I can tell you, you are already ahead of most people. Once you start building consistently, the next step becomes powerful because now you have something to show. Now let's talk about the most underrated parts of this entire journey. The third phase, which is share. This is your differentiator. This is where you separate yourself from the thousands of people who are learning silently. Because here's the reality. A lot of people are learning, a lot of people are building, but very few people are visible. And in today's world, visibility creates opportunity. So what does it mean to share? It's very simple. It's actually simple. You document your journey. You post on LinkedIn, you share on Twitter or X, you push your code to GitHub. You don't wait till you are perfect. You share as you go. You share what you're learning. You share what actually broke. You share how you fixed it. You share what confused you and what finally made it click. Because when you do this, three powerful things happen. One, you build visibility. People start to recognize your name. They start to associate you with growth, with consistency, with effort. Two, you attract opportunities. Recruiters, founders, other developers, they don't just see your resume, they see your journey. Third, or number three, you prove your consistency. Anyone can say, I've been learning for 6 months. But when you've been showing up week after week, building and sharing, that tells a completely different story. And let me address something that holds people back. A lot of people think, I'm not good enough to share yet. But here's the truth. You don't need to be an expert to share. You just need to be one step ahead of someone else. there's always someone behind you trying to understand that same thing that you just figured out yesterday. There's always someone behind you who is also trying to understand the same thing. So don't hide your journey. Don't wait until you arrive, because sharing is not about showing perfection, it's about showing progress. And when you combine building with sharing, you don't just grow faster, you get noticed faster. And now that leads us to the final step, because once you've been learning, you've been building, and you've been sharing, you are closer than you think. Now it's time to go after the opportunity. So the fourth phase four, apply. Applying is the final part of the roadmap. Now, this is where everything comes together. But this is also where many people get it wrong. What do? They must apply, hundreds of applications using the same CV, the same message, no direction. And then they wonder why no one is responding. Now, here's the shift you need to make. Here's the difference you need to do. You don't just apply randomly, you apply strategically. Instead of sending 100 generic applications, send 10 intentional ones. Research the company, understand what they do, look at the role carefully, then position yourself accordingly. Tailor your CV, adjust your cover message, highlight the projects that are relevant to your role. Because when someone reviews your application, they are not asking, did this person apply? No. What they're asking is, can this person solve our problem? And this is where most beginners actually miss it. Now, I want to point out something. Your CV is not the most important thing. What matters more is your proof of work, your GitHub or your GitLab repositories, your portfolio, your real projects. No, you'll be asked, can I see what you've built? Can I explore your code? Can I understand how you think? These are the qualities that would make you stand out, because anyone can write skills on a CV. Anyone can write Python, JavaScript, Django on a CV, but not everyone can demonstrate it. So for this phase, here's the line that I want you to remember. Your portfolio is your proof of work. It's the difference between saying, I can do this, and showing that, hey, I've already done it. So when you apply, lead with your work. Make it easy for someone to see your value. And don't wait until you feel ready. Apply while you are growing. Apply while you are improving. Apply while you are building, because every application is also practice. Every rejection is what? Is feedback. Every opportunity moves you forward. And when you combine all four steps, learn, build, share, apply, you are no longer getting your way through the journey. You are following a system. You're following a roadmap that actually works. And if you stay consistent with it, you see, that first opportunity, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Let me say a few things about having a portfolio, because it's not just about having a portfolio, but actually having one that actually works. Because the fact is, not all portfolios help. In fact, some of them might hurt your chances. Let me show you what I mean. A bad portfolio looks like this. You have 10 unfinished projects. You'd have half working apps. You would have tutorial copies on it, and no explanation of what's actually going on. You see, they say something random. When someone opens it, they're confused. They don't know what you've built. They don't know what you contributed. They don't know how you think. And that's a problem. Now, compare that to a good portfolio. A good portfolio is simple, it is focused, intentional. You have 2 to 4 solid projects in there, not 20, not 50, just a few, but done well. Each project is complete, each one solves a real problem, and most importantly, each one tells a story. Now, based on personal experience, I can tell you that this is so important, because 2 of my personal projects, which were in my portfolio, actually got me hired. One is a web framework I called Bast, which is after the Wakanda goddess Bast of Black Panther. I built it because I wanted a web framework whose I built it because I wanted a Python web framework whose syntax would look just like Laravel PHP or Adonis JS. And the other project was a login tool. I built it then as a personal project just to learn about and use Ready Search. So what was it meant to do? It was meant to collect logs from a number of applications. So what am I getting at? Both of these projects that I just mentioned have a story. They have a reason behind them. I want you to know that your portfolio is not just code, it's communication. So what should you include? Three simple things. First, what problem does this project solve? Why did you build it? What need does it address? Second, what tech did you use? Not just listening tools, but why you chose them. What role did they play? Then third, what challenges did you face? What broke? What didn't work the first time? What did you learn fixing it? Because this is what companies are looking for. They are not looking for perfection. They are looking for thinking. Can you approach a problem? Can you make decisions? Can you handle difficulties? And can you still deliver something useful? Because that's what a strong portfolio shows. And let me say this clearly, you don't need more projects, you need better projects. So instead of starting another new app, go back to what you already built, improve it, refactor it, document it properly. Because in the end, your portfolio is speaking for you. Before you ever get on a call, you need to make sure that it says the right thing. Okay, so now let's talk about a hidden shortcut: networking. Networking is not a hack, it's not a trick, but it's a real advantage. Because the truth is, not all opportunities come from applications. There are times that they also come from people. Someone sees your work, someone remembers your name, someone recommends you, someone mentions your name in rooms. That's how a lot of doors open. But when people hear networking, it sounds complicated or even uncomfortable. So let's simplify it. Networking is just being visible and being genuinely interested in others. You start small, you engage with people, you comment on posts, you share your thoughts, and you add something meaningful to conversations. You join communities, developer groups, Slack channels, WhatsApp groups, Discord servers, places where people are already talking. You attend tech events, you attend meetups, you attend conferences, even small local gatherings. You don't need to know everything, you need to show up. Now, here's a practical tip. When you reach out to people, don't ask for a job. That's where most people go wrong. Instead, ask for clarity. Ask questions like, how did you get started? What would you focus on if you were me? What mistakes should I avoid? Most people are more willing to help when you are not asking them for something big. And here's the interesting part. When you do this consistently, opportunities start to come to you. Someone remembers your name, someone sees your progress, someone thinks of you when something opens up. And that's why this matters. So now let me leave you with this. Don't ask for a job, ask for clarity, and opportunities will follow. Because in the end, your skills open the door, but people help you find it. So let's talk about the timeline. You've probably seen it before, maybe online or social media. Become a developer in 3 months, get hired in 12 weeks. It sounds good. It sounds motivating. But for the most part, it's not realistic. This journey takes time, not because it's impossible, but because you are building real skills. You are building problem solving skills. You are building thinking skills, not just memorizing syntax. So, what actually determines how fast you grow? There are three things. One, consistency. Are you showing up daily? Are you showing up every day or just when you feel like it? Two, practice. Are you just watching or are you actually building? And number three, your environment. Are you around people who are growing, learning, people who are sharing, or are you doing this alone without direction? So these three things, they actually matter more than any timeline. So now if we're being realistic, for most people, a solid, I would say, earliest timeline should be between, let's say, 3, 6 to 12 months. Yes, not perfect, not I know everything, but at least good enough to build real projects, to apply confidently, to start getting opportunities. And here's the key mindset shift. Don't chase speed, chase progress. Because the faster you build, the faster you grow. Not the faster you watch, not the faster you finish courses, the faster you build. So instead of asking, how quickly can I get there? Start asking, how consistently can I improve? Because if you stay consistent and you follow the roadmap, it won't feel fast at first, but one day you will look back and you realize how far you've come. So let's bring this all home. The journey from zero to your first job is not magic. It's not luck, it's a system. You learn, you build, you share, you apply. You do this over and over and over again. Focus less on consuming content and more on creating things. Because in the end, your projects will speak louder than your certificates ever will. If this episode helped you see the path more clearly, share it with someone who's trying to break into tech. And if you want more breakdowns like this, subscribe to Inside the Stack. I'm your host, Niwale Nigeria, and I'll see you.